It's easy to forget that every weapon Russia fires in Ukraine depends on a complex chain of parts and materials. An artillery shell isn't just a hunk of metal. It needs steel for the casing and carefully produced chemicals to ensure the explosive charge works. Remove even one ingredient and the shell becomes useless. That's exactly what Ukraine aimed for over the weekend with one of its deepest drone strikes yet. On September 13th, Ukrainian drones flew nearly 1,800 kilometers over 100 miles into Russian territory to hit a chemical plant at the heart of Russia's ammunition supply chain. The target was the Metafrax Chemicals facility in Gubaka, in the Perm-Krai region. This plant produces crucial components like urea, methanol, and pentrite, all essential for Russia's artillery shells and landmines. The Kyiv Independent and other outlets reported the strike on September 14th. A source from Ukraine's main intelligence directorate confirmed the attack, saying it was carried out by the Unmanned Systems Forces, a unit responsible for many of Ukraine's most daring long-range operations. The target wasn't random. Cutting off Russia's access to these chemicals directly weakens its ability to produce weapons. Though Ukraine has yet to issue an official statement, evidence of the strike surfaced quickly. Euromaidan Press published a 42-second video, reportedly filmed from a passing car. The footage shows smoke pouring from the plant. Around the 20-second mark, the camera zooms in on a damaged building with metal sheeting, ripped away and a massive scorch mark. It's not proof beyond doubt, but it strongly suggests the facility was hit hard. Russia's local officials, as usual, tried to downplay the event. Perm-Krai's governor, Dmitry Makonin, admitted that a Ukrainian drone had struck an industrial enterprise in Gubaka, but claimed there were no casualties and that operations continued as normal. His statement urged residents to stay calm, rely only on official sources, and most tellingly, to avoid sharing photos or videos online. That plea reveals what Russia really fears, proof that Ukraine penetrated deep into its defenses and successfully struck a critical target. Makonin's warning also reflects a broader Kremlin campaign to control narratives around drone strikes. According to Medusa, Russia has allowed regional governments to fine residents who share footage of attacks online. 12 regions now impose penalties, with Kaluga alone having pursued over 40 cases. The fines are relatively small, around $48 for individuals, but the threat seems to be keeping most videos offline. In Perm-Krai, aside from the single clip of smoke at Metafrax, little else has emerged, suggesting people are either heeding the governor's warning or avoiding punishment. Even so, the evidence points to one conclusion: Metafrax was hit. And this strike mattered for more than its immediate damage. Metafrax is one of Russia's biggest chemical companies. In 2021, Forbes ranked it as the 200th largest private firm in the country. More recently, in 2023, the company launched a major ammonia urea melamine production facility in Gubaka that produced 300,000 tons of ammonia in just its first 8 months. Both the UK and Ukraine have sanctioned Metafrax for its role in supporting Russia's war effort. The chemicals it produces aren't just industrial feedstocks, they're war materials. Urea, for example, is usually a fertilizer, but combined with nitric acid, it forms urea nitrate, a powerful explosive commonly used in improvised bombs. Russia doesn't make urea nitrate, but it does use urea to produce ammonia, which in turn becomes ammonium nitrate, a compound for artillery shells and mines. By hitting this plant, Ukraine is choking off a supply line that feeds Russia's war machine. And there's more to this story. On paper, Metafrax has long tried to distance itself from the defense sector, but its parent company, Roscom, is tied directly to Vladimir Putin through Boris and Arkady Rotenberg, two billionaire brothers who grew up with Putin and remain among his closest allies. Since Russia's full-scale invasion began, the Rotenbergs have profited massively from state-driven asset seizures, scooping up dozens of companies. In October 2024, Roscom acquired a 97% stake in Metafrax through a state auction in which it was the only bidder. The Russian government pocketed about $175 million from the sale. What looks like business is actually cronyism. Putin uses state power to enrich his childhood friends, who in turn strengthen industries critical to his war. This makes the Ukrainian strike not just military but personal. By targeting Metafrax, Ukraine wasn't just depriving Russia of chemicals. It was hitting a symbol of Putin's corrupt system and sending a message straight to his inner circle. Your businesses are not safe, no matter how far they are from the front lines, and Ukraine didn't stop there. Around the same time, Ukrainian forces struck railway lines in Oryol and Leningrad oblasts. According to Ukrainian sources, these railways are vital for supplying Russian troops in the Kharkiv and Sumy regions. One strike killed 3 Russian National Guard members during a track inspection. Another derailed a locomotive with 15 fuel cisterns. While Moscow claimed the cisterns were empty, Ukraine insists they were full of fuel headed to the front. A separate derailment likely killed a train engineer. On September 12th, the day before the Metafrax attack, Ukraine also struck an oil refinery in Bashkortostan, about 930 miles from the border. This continues a campaign that has already disabled about 20% of Russia's refining capacity, leading to nationwide fuel shortages. Put together, these strikes represent Ukraine's death by 1,000 cuts strategy. Instead of relying on single decisive blows, Ukraine chips away at Russia's ability to wage war, disrupting fuel, railways, ammunition plants, and storage depots. Each hit may seem small on its own, but together they sap Russia's strength and reveal vulnerabilities in its defenses. Nowhere is this more evident than in artillery. Since the start of the invasion, Russia's overwhelming advantage in artillery has been one of its most effective weapons, but Ukraine's campaign of strikes has cut into that stockpile. By January 2025, Newsweek reported that Russia's artillery ammunition reserves had been halved. A month later, Ukraine's commander-in-chief, Oleksandr Syrsky, revealed that Russia's artillery advantage had shrunk from 10-1 to just 2-1. Ukraine has also destroyed over 13,000 Russian artillery systems in the past year. Desperate to fill the gap, Russia has turned to North Korea for shells. That might ease shortages in the short term, but it also leaves Moscow indebted to Pyongyang, another vulnerability Ukraine and its allies are likely to exploit. The Metafrax strike only sharpens that dependence by threatening one of Russia's main chemical suppliers for shell production. Mines are another front where this strike could matter. Ukraine is already one of the most heavily mined countries on Earth. The Center for European Policy Analysis estimates that 2 million mines cover about 40% of its territory. Many are Ukrainian, used defensively, but Russia has deployed countless mines as well, often leaving them behind in retreating cities to terrorize civilians and cripple reconstruction. Hitting Metafrax won't stop Russia from producing mines entirely, but it chips away at the supply. Even a small reduction helps protect Ukrainian soldiers and civilians from further devastation. The symbolic impact may be even greater. Just a few years ago, nobody in Moscow imagined Ukrainian drones could fly more than 1,000 miles into Russian territory. Now plants like Metafrax deep in the Urals are burning. The strike proves that Russia has no safe zones. Every facility, no matter how remote, is within reach. For Putin, that's a nightmare. The plant is run by his childhood friends, the Rotenberg brothers, who have grown rich from his corrupt system of asset seizures. Now, one of their prize acquisitions is damaged, its role in the war effort exposed, and its supposed safety shattered. Ukraine's message is clear. We can hit you anywhere. We can hit your industries. We can hit your friends. You are not untouchable. And this is only one strike among many. In just a few days, Ukraine disrupted chemical production, rail logistics, and fuel supplies deep inside Russia. It demonstrated once again that Russian air defenses cannot stop its drones, and it reminded the world that Russia's military power is built on a fragile foundation of corrupt deals and vulnerable infrastructure. The war continues, but Ukraine's strategy is bearing fruit. Russia's artillery advantage is shrinking, its fuel supply is faltering, and its leaders' businesses are being exposed as legitimate targets. Each cut makes the Kremlin bleed a little more. Metafrax was more than a chemical plant. It was a symbol of how Putin sustains his war through cronyism and corruption. By striking it, Ukraine proved not only its military reach, but also its ability to hit Putin where it hurts most, at the core of his power.